Hi there, DrWayPo, Restless Researcher and Catalyst Architect. I just checked into an Airbnb in St. John, New Brunswick. And I head to the ferry in the morning and take the ferry from here to Digby, Nova Scotia. And once in Nova Scotia, I am getting picked up and heading to Yarmouth, Nova Scotia with my mom and my second father, Frank. Frank is awesome. My mom is my mom. She's pretty special and she's a lot of fun and really lucky. She's pretty amazing. And by the way, whenever I do this and I see these beams of light, these rays of light, I do it on purpose because it reminds us just about the light that's within us. And when you tap into and do your great work, and you'll see that you will shine brilliantly. One of the ads that we have for And Associates says, be yourself, shine brilliantly. Now, the more expanded version about that is all about us understanding that when you stand in your true colors and when you stand in your true strength, then some amazing things start to happen. And you open up the laws of attraction. So when you talk about chakras, or I like to use the How to Fascinate tool, they talk about the different colors that we are, and How to Fascinate is about strengths-based approaches. And what it basically says, it's also, you can read a bit more from Find Your Great Work. And Find Your Great Work says there's 3 kinds of work that we do in life: bad work, good work, great work. And I also use the Good to Great methodology for small business, and the Great by Choice, which is the follow-up. And I put all these things together into a platform that is a coaching and collaboration platform. So it says, okay, first you got to invest in yourself. To invest in yourself, you need to make sure that you're well and that you have the tools around you. And you have to know about yourself. And to know about yourself, I've probably done one of the deepest dives you can ever imagine. I've done so many of the assessment tools. I have reports about who I am, what I am. I'm quite accomplished and have a lot of a public record on that. And then, of course, I have my faults. I have my bad parts, and I'm very in tune with what those are. Not always patient. Have a little bit of a fiery anger in me, just because I don't like the way that the world is operating right now, because it could be way simpler and way easier. And I believe in people, and I believe in doing things in a better way. I believe in process efficiency, and I did some process re-engineering in my career in project management, and I've led change initiatives my entire life, worked on the student life cycle, and had incredible results there. My PhD is in student engagement, student success, creating conditions and environments that are conducive to enhanced student success outcomes. And then I did a lot of work on predictive modeling, and that predictive modeling work actually helped IBM Watson to learn about artificial intelligence and about how to increase what we were at, like 70 something percent. We got our graduation rates up by 5 full percentage rates. We didn't lower expectations. We just got more strategic about how we help students. And the work that I'm doing now is about the human experience. And it says, if the student life cycle and the poverty life cycle, they're both cycles. So if we just replace the poverty cycle with a wealth creation cycle, what would that look like? And if we did the great reversal, what does that mean? And it's funny, when you stop and look at the game of life, I call it, you'll realize quickly that it's a win-lose scenario. So the first part of the great reversal is to switch that up and say, no, we only do win-win. And win-win is a misnomer, because Win-win is contagious, and it goes win-win, 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 win-win. And finite mathematics teaches us exponential mathematics. And it was the one math that I really liked because it made sense to me. And it basically shows that if you start here and you double and you double and you double, it looks like that. So it's a rise. And the rise, when you apply it to people, it says, when we stand together, we rise together. Gandhi taught us this, 2 by 2. Then presenting psychology teaches us this. It says, if you treat the presenting symptom and not the root cause, you're not going to be successful. And I can give you hundreds of examples where we do this. But the one that I'm going to use is that the French Revolution and India's independence went after the monarchy. And the monarchy is a symbol, and it evolved even more, but it's a symbol of wealth, power, profit, all those things. But it's not the issue. It is greed that is the issue. Because you could have a monarchy that has one presidential or official palace that's for work, and they do good work. Like our Governor General is at Rideau Hall. The building is both the Governor General's residence, it's where they serve, and they serve a lot. So the service is not the issue. The role is not the issue. The greed is the issue. No one needs tons and tons of palaces. Now, these should become great assets for the community. Can you imagine if leaders and up-and-coming student leaders got to go to Buckingham Palace for a conference to learn about leadership, and they got treated really, really well to show them what service is all about. And then they had to do some service. Things would be a lot different. But today, the monarchy is just a symbol of that past greed. And the actual greed is the greedy 1%. 10 families hoarding $1.4 trillion while people died. And the other piece is that the old way of doing things is charity. Now, charity, I believe, has two different pieces. I have worked with a lot of philanthropists. I worked in a foundation. So I know firsthand that there are good people that have become successful and want nothing more than to share with the community. In fact, I know some people who have become quite wealthy that give most of their money to charity. And they want to do that good work. And most donors want to engage. It's not like they're just giving money. A philanthropist wants to engage as well with the cause. But there are some that are there for the tax benefit. They're there to advance their own agenda. And the greediest are particularly problematic with that because nobody needs $1.4 trillion. Now, they didn't make the problem, but they are certainly part of the problem. The problem is that governments allowed them to influence government policy. Governments are big proponents and friends of the big business, and there are places where we do need big business because the resources that it takes to do certain things, you need that scale. But there are lots of other businesses that we need to ask ourselves, who needs $1 billion, let alone 1.4 trillion? At a 99% tax rate, that's 1.4 billion. So that hoarding, that win-lose philosophy means that while 10 families have that much wealth, billions of families have next to nothing. Or, in Canada and the United States, where we are amongst the wealthiest nations, not the wealthiest, but amongst the wealthiest, we still have people that are struggling with debt. Now, who benefits from debt? It creates anxiety. It leads to separation and divorce. It leads to violence and drinking and addiction. why would we design a system that is like that? Credit and getting credit it's just, the system doesn't make any sense any longer. The system has nation states fighting one another while people get killed. Nation states enroll people in their armies and spend money on weapons when there's enough weapons in the world to destroy us. That doesn't make any sense. And yet, we the people fought for our rights, fought for our power, fought for our vote, and then gave it away. We fought for our freedoms and then gave it away. And this simply does not make any sense. So for one moment in history, the great reversal that I'm going to be encouraging people to think about and get involved with says this: no. I'm a free man, declared free. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like to declare my independence and to say, listen, here's some policies that I'm going to live by, and I'm going to share them. And if you like them, I'm going to say, then join up and follow. Because what I'm doing, I wish I could say that I was the one that came up with these concepts. I'm not. I researched because I've done a lot of research and I like history. And I took the pandemic 1,200 days to say, hey, how can we do things a little bit differently? And I've designed something that's really pretty unbelievable. It is a brand and social enterprise platform with small businesses. So you become independent, and then you work in a network so that you have the look and feel of a large corporation. So you're bundling arrows or coming together. We're stronger together. We know this. Bundled arrows is an indigenous teacher that says one arrow is weak, many arrows are strong. And I like to say 8 billion arrows are unstoppable. The adult population of the world is probably 5 billion. So 1%. So if you had a fair look, 1% of us is 50 million people. So that's the goal that I'm going to set. Can we reach 50 million people? And when we do, believe me, we will have the power to change the world. Now, Gandhi knew this. Gandhi did the mathematics, and he was a smart man. And he said, all that we need to do is have peaceful resistance. And now we don't even have to leave the home. Back then, they had to actually go and protest. And we've seen in Canada, for example, those they annoy people. It makes it difficult. Well, today you can just click on the platform that I've designed, and when we reach the different targets, so I've set the targets, they're all going to be made public so that we can watch transparently and see, and then I'm going to show you exactly how every cent is going to be spent, because it's all, 99% of it, I'm keeping 1%. I had a big debate and struggle with myself saying, do I just give it all away? And I learned the lesson that you have to take care of yourself. So I am keeping 1%, but 99% are going to be put into trusts. And trusts are going to be one for housing, one for small business, and one for reparations. The reparations one is we the people need to make peace for our collective colonial past, because it's there, it's not going away, people are hurt, and people went through a lot of pain and suffering. We all did. 99% of us did. 1% didn't. 1% controlled, the resources and said, yeah, you don't deserve them. And it started by, let's call it out for what it is. And we need to stop getting so bum hurt just because the truth, it's a little uncomfortable. But yes, it turns out that straight, white men controlled and dominated others. Now, not all, because there were poor people in that grouping. So those poor people took an advantage just like everybody else. But women were owned by men, and they had to emancipate. That's what the women's emancipation and movement was about. People of color, Black people, were owned as slaves. And, that piece, I've watched some interesting things to learn that just because I said earlier that the control was by that small group, and that it happened to be men and white men that had the power, there were also amazing white men that were doing great work to end slavery. And we forget that. We forget that there were great men that helped with the women's movement. There were lots of white people that joined in the civil rights movement. The Kennedys, Robert Kennedy, was a big part of that. And Black and white knew that you needed to come together if you were going to be successful. India got its independence by realizing that they had to challenge the leaders to say, you've lost the moral authority to govern. And Nelson Mandela, who is my hero, after 27 years in the long walk to freedom, in his autobiography, he said to his colleagues, no, you can't exclude white people from government. They will serve alongside us. If we don't do that, then we have become them. And I want to acknowledge the indigenous people. I am in Mi'kmaq territory, and the Mi'kmaq and the Acadia First Nation, was founded by the French and Mi'kmaq as a partnership, a collaboration. And I'm excited to go to the Acadia First Nation because I've learned about my Acadian heritage. Turns out my family was on the first boat from France and played an instrumental role in founding Acadia. And we're not here when France surrendered to England. Now, there's a problem with both of those statements because France and England were colonizing indigenous sacred lands that they had sovereign rights to forever. Many of the territories in Canada are unceded, which means they never said, these aren't our lands anymore. They said, we'll share with you, but they never said, these are yours. And when you apply the principle of emancipation, how do we own Mother Earth? We might steward her, as the Haudenosaunee teach us, the Six Nations. You are supposed to be a steward of the land. Make sure that Mother Earth is okay, because if not, we're in trouble. There's only one planet. And it just so happens that we are headed for climate catastrophe, which is way worse. It is an inconvenient truth that we are all choosing to ignore, and our leaders are ignoring. And I got to tell you something. The uber rich, they have a plan. Elon Musk, look on YouTube. Watch his plan. 1 million person colony in Mars. China is now on board with the SpaceX program. And there's some really sick thinking out there around nuclear war. Russia has said they are now having a first strike policy. You should be concerned with that. China and Russia are both nuclear powers. You should be concerned with that. But the United States is also a nuclear power. You should be concerned with that. The United States is a nation that has used nuclear power. Remember that. So when these things are happening today and the social unrest is identical, I mean identical, dot for dot, history is repeating itself as it did in World War II. The people are different, the nations, but the scenario is the same. It is literally the same scenario. China is a rising power. The United States' power is declining. Great Britain's power was declining. And you saw Russia at the time. Sorry, not Russia. You saw Germany make a move like Russia is today. And those early invasions were ignored or not acted upon until it was too late. And the lesson in all of this is that war is problematic. It doesn't help people. World War I was over 70 million people died. Believe me, if there is that was World War II. If World War III happens, believe me, we are looking at hundreds of millions. Probably 4 times larger. That's 7, 14, 20, and 280 million people. And the last war between Germany and Great Britain that expanded to the world was fought with country between them, which is France. And the country between the United States and the USSR is Canada. So we should be very concerned and understand what first strike means. First strike means that they have declared that before the quote-unquote enemy can get them, they will strike first. So Russia has said, we will strike the United States first. And now I'm going to tell you something about first strike cities. Hamilton, where I live, is a first strike city. Why? Because they have steel manufacturing, which during war you need. They have the most busy port and important port and highways. And they have a nuclear reactor at McMaster University. In fact, Einstein spent some time there when they were developing the nuclear. So these things are highly problematic. I took a political science degree and I thought, studying this history is never going to come in useful. Well, these are problematic. So we, the people, need to say to all of our leaders, no. Not only are we not accepting war this time, we want the weapons put away safely. And to do that, let's send them to the United Nations. So for the United States, it's a small move. But let's get Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, that would be the right team, to negotiate and move Washington nuclear codes to New York, where the United Nations is headquartered. And then do the same around the world. And if we need to make some additional United Nations locations, one per continent, and have one union per continent, Turtle Island Union, like the European Union. And Russia needs to have a union, maybe of Slavic countries. And what about, or they need to be part of the European Union. But obviously we need to fix some of those things that Russia is claiming that is a problem for the Russian people, because that would be reparations. The truth of the matter is there is so much hurting in the world that it's easy to erupt into conflict. And we, the people, need to say, no. We don't want war. We also are sick and tired of not getting our fair share. And the whole system of a hegemon, that means one nation that is supreme to all others, that's got to go. If each of the unions through the United Nations were specialists and had real respect for one another, we could make a way better system. And to do it, I propose that the wealthiest 40 nations pair with the lowest 80 nations and help them rise up. Because incrementally, equity, helping the lowest 80 countries double their income, would have a huge impact on people. But it would be a very small economic burden for the large countries, because we're not talking about a lot of money. And it would mean that the whole world rises. And incidentally, when we eradicate poverty, something happens, which is population comes under control. because people tend to have less children. And when that happens, we will be in a better state overall. This obsession that we have to grow, this obsession with consumerism, and consumerism is based on products that break down. If we only made good products that last for a lifetime, and we got rid of credit and said, okay, listen, you automatically get a lending facility 3 stages in your life. And it's going to last you for those 3 stages. So your first one, through to university and college, your education, or starting a business and getting your first home. Then your second facility is your starter home, right? The first one, I say, give a mobile home that is zero emission so that young people can experience North America and go to communities. And at each community, there would be a service station where they could actually do service, not a fuel station, but a service station where they could check in and do some community service. And by getting that community service, that's how they pay back their credit facility. And then in your second stage, when you are starting out, you get enough money to buy a nice, modest home and good things in it. Not things that break down. Like, why do we have fridges that break down? TVs that break down? Cell phones that need new cords every couple of months. So it means that prices would be higher. We'd go back to quality craftsmanship. And when we do that and we promote the skilled trades, salaries would rise. We would be paying more. But our quality of life and money would be going to small business and people rather than the market, the uber wealthy, and people just sitting on this incredible wealth rather than putting it back into the economy. And as it turns out, the more we give, the more we get back. So the modeling that I've done shows that when you put 90% back in, and I'm going to put, my commitment is a minimum of 90%. My goal is 99%, but I've got to pay back some of my bills because right now I'm fighting with the courts. I have a house that they're trying to steal, and it is literally the foundation for my business, for the program that I'm running, for the coaching center, all of these things. And right now it's a battle, and I don't want it to be a battle. I want to focus on helping people learn how to grow, how to start their business, how to support small business. And for some people that are really struggling with addiction right now, I think what we need to recognize is you can try to treat addiction all you want, but if somebody doesn't have a bed because they're homeless, or if somebody's in a shelter and they don't know where their next night is going to be, I got to tell you, they're not going to heal. I took in 25 people that were either homeless or having small businesses and struggling through the pandemic, and I learned from them. It was not easy, I got to tell you. I prefer to live alone. I had an Airbnb. It was really great. It wasn't all pleasant. However, I met some really great people that are really smart, that really would like a better life, but things are too tough and they're struggling. And it's not to say that they're all addicts. That's not the case. But I do want to remind us, we all are addicted to something. The first addiction that's the worst in the world right now is this cell phone. We have young people that have access to that. And if you listen to the top scientists about the mind, it's an addiction. We basically are giving kids one of the most addictive things in history, and it's filled with marketing messages, which is recording in the brain that's saying, you need more, you need more, you need more. No, we don't need more. We need enough to live and be happy. And that doesn't take all that much. I believe everybody needs a dignified home. Tiny homes are a great solution. And I think if you had a tiny home and a basic income, and we said to people, your job is to heal, get well. And if you're modest and that's what you've chosen, great. And then, there would be a couple other standards, and it would say, only when you get into the ridiculously wealthy, then you have responsibility, right? At a certain threshold, you have responsibility to give back, to serve, to help others. And why not say, when you reach 1 billion, you get a street named after you, we all celebrate, and then give the business over to your employees. Give it over to the executives that you have groomed and taught. Be happy for their success and become an elder statesman or woman. We need those elders to help guide leaders because it's in their wisdom, because they've seen it before, that they can slow things down and give good advice to the natural leaders that today should be people of my age, the Gen X leaders. But we still have people that are hanging on to their power at 80 and 90. And it's like, if we all had hobbies, interests, charity work, family, and community, then you wouldn't need that work thing. And we got to get people off their addiction to power and greed and profit and say, we can all do better. And it doesn't mean we have to give up our comforts. We do have to make solutions that are sustainable because our planet needs us to use our brains, our free will, and our talent to put it all together and to work collectively. Because right now we're doing a lot of really good work independently and separate. But when we are connected and we connect the dots, we are unstoppable. So this thing about competition, no, you don't need to compete. What you need to do is learn from one another and partner with one another. There is plenty of room because people like choice. So restaurants know that when you have a street full of restaurants, it is more vibrant and people come because they don't have to think, well, I'm going to drive over there. No, they're like, okay, I know if I go to that street, there's going to be a whole bunch of choices for good food, drinks, and it's going to be fun. That's why neighborhoods where there are lots of restaurants are successful. Same as shopping. That's why it works. And by the way, walkable small business rather than big box stores. And the big box stores could deliver to your local small store so that you could pick it up there. And when you have a walkable community, guess what? We get healthier, we engage with one another more, and we learn from one another. And that's what community is all about. And our community is broken. Our electoral system is broken because we have people that are hoarding power, and we have democracy that has ridiculous thresholds to hold incredible power. And that's got to be fixed. But all of it can be fixed. And all that we need to do is have this great reversal, say, no. And I bet you most times the answer is doing the exact opposite of what we're doing right now. And all of us saying, we're not playing the game of life anymore. We're going to live life, and we're going to be free, and then we're going to associate together, connected, through our purchasing power, the power of our data, and the power of ourselves, that we can coach you, that when you shine brilliantly, when you stand in your true colors, and you build a brand around what you love doing, what interests you, and what you're good at doing, the laws of attraction set in, and you will find success. And it's literally that simple. We need to stop judging. So many people that are in prisons are there because of conditions that we made. There is a crisis, an epidemic, with people of color disproportionately represented in our prison system. That is a new form of slavery. And there are more Indigenous children today in Children's Aid Society than there were during residential schools. So we got to stop thinking, oh yeah, these past things, well, that wasn't me. Because the impact is still here today. In fact, the impact is worse today in some cases than it was. We need to learn this. That's not to say there's not great things happening, because there are amazing things happening. The cooperation in the space station is amazing. But before we colonize space, let's clean up Earth. And before we fall into war. Let's promote peace. It sounds ridiculous, but the power of technology allows me to not have to go to a classroom to talk to students. I'm talking to you directly as a professor. And I'm sharing with you my knowledge, and knowledge is power. So I am saying to you, I have a lot of knowledge and I'm going to share it with you. And I am going to use the tools of today to get us out of the mess. And I am going to train the trainer, which means I'm going to have founders circles in every city, 12 per city around the world. And I'm going to teach those founders circle members. And then they in turn are going to lead the local initiative on the ground, which means they can adapt the system, they can change it, they can build on it, or they can use it to the advantage of the community that they serve. And the model that I have designed is powerful. It is financially explosive because it's made on exponential mathematics. And it's all on one platform, a one-stop shop with 4 big goals. Truth and reconciliation. That is the process of healing and justice between all of us in our collective colonial past. Men, women, Black, white, Indigenous, non-Indigenous. It is the process of healing that is so needed right now in society. The second part, and reparations, means, thoughts and prayers are nice, but we need to see some deeds and actions to get these communities to have resources so that they can rebuild their people. And when we do this, we the people, together as allies, we are going to support one another, rise together. We all rise together. Because 99% of us, are either just getting by or doing well and are afraid to lose it, or are living in a culture of contentment, pretending that we don't know what's going on by ignoring the inconvenient truth that we cannot ignore. We can't ignore it. When you read the book and when you understand what it means, it's a crisis 20 times larger than the Syrian refugee crisis. That's just the eastern seaboard. The melting glaciers can pollute all of our water, our drinking water. And we are headed, like Titanic, not for an iceberg, but an ice age. And we know that history repeats itself unless we learn our lesson. So our lesson needs to be, stop this addiction with consumerism. Stop building things that are not healthy for our planet. If you can't burn it, if you can't bury it, we shouldn't produce it. Period. End of story. And if we can't make it better, then do we need it at all? Right? So why can't we have things that don't break down? Why do we have it planned within our current model that although they could make it better, they don't, because they know that they're going for long-term sales? Just raise the price, make sure that we change the way that we do credit and equity, and guess what? We can fix things. Nothing is impossible. The word says I'm possible. So my little tour here from St. John, New Brunswick, heading off to Yarmouth, is to finish my writing, finish a series of videos. This is the first one that's starting to tell you a little bit more about where I'm going, and why I was doing the personal great reversal is to show you that retracing my heritage has opened up a lot of understanding about what to do to fix the mess that we've made of this beautiful land. And we were supposed to live in peace, friendship, and respect with the Indigenous people. And we were supposed to share with the dish with one spoon wampum belt and the 2-row wampum belt. And we really messed it up. And that was supposed to be an ancestral agreement between ship, European, and canoe, Indigenous. And what I want to say is it's time to honor that. And the way we do it is 2 by 2, like Gandhi taught us, and shoulder to shoulder, brothers and sisters, remembering our power and peace, or the valley of the shadow of death that we've all walked through, our tough times, but remember it's victory. And my name, of course, is Wayne, so the W shows that it's like the Olympics. There's 2 deep falls, but there are 3 podiums: bronze, silver, gold. And it's time for gold for all of us. And where do they keep the gold? At the end of the rainbow. We know this. And how do you get to the rainbow? Follow the yellow brick road. So if you're a dreamer and an artist, if you're a lover, and if you believe that this planet is worth fighting for and saving, if you believe that people deserve better, that there's no reason for us to have homelessness in our neighborhoods and to watch our brothers and sisters struggle, then I'm DrWayPo, restless researcher. I spent 1,200 days and took over 40 courses to come up with a solution, and I've done it. It's www.myassociates.ca. It's in preview mode right now, and the concept is get listed on the right side of history. It's a business directory and a supporter directory for all of us to literally get listed. When we get listed for $20.20, which is 2020 vision, we open up an economic platform that I've designed in such a way that it has a snowball exponential growth to it, and that it goes into big data so that we're not going to do the work of fixing the mess that we've made on the planet. We're going to hold our political leaders accountable by saying, this is us together. Your job as political leaders, you're getting paid, so do your work and stop feeding us mediocrity. Because we the people are going to monitor you, and we're going to say, no, that's not good enough. The Paris Agreement has failed. It's not sufficient because if any country doesn't do it, we're not going to get there. The 2030 fossil fuel plan doesn't make any sense. We have a problem where scientists warn us we have until 2027. So what is a 2030 plan going to do? Nothing. It means we have to double our efforts. And then finally, we need world peace. I'd like to suggest that Vladimir Putin's be offered a place at the Vatican, and that the Dalai Lama and the Pope say to them, come on. And then I think as a good measure, Joe Biden would step down. My plan, Kamala Harris becomes president. And to balance things out, we expect her to appoint an all-party and a non-party, some people from outside of government, cabinet, and that her vice president would be Mike Pence. Donald Trump and Hillary, as I told you, would go to New York and work together to bring about world peace. The two of them can do it. I know this. And I would say Al Gore and Mitt Romney and David Suzuki. Get them to work on the environment. A new green plan for Canada, the United States, Turtle Island to become the greenest continent in the world. And have a race, not for space, a race to clean up Mother Earth. And then I've got some other nominations. Jody Wilson-Raybould, Canadian independent prime minister, and she would appoint a cabinet of all parties and some non-party people. And she would be the first prime minister without a party, which means she would have to use her integrity, which she has a lot of, and influence to gain the support of everybody. And then I have a plan for reform for the Senate. Let's redesign the Senate with strong representation from the Assembly of First Nations, using the Haudenosaunee Confederacy model. Anyways, these are some thoughts that I'm going to tell you more about. As you know, I am the restless researcher. I've got an active mind, and I have had so many teachings. I have the privilege of an amazing education. I've project managed. I've worked on the student life cycle and student success. And I just put this together and reused the work that I've done previously with all of the teams that I've had the great fortune of working with and learning together with. And I'm going to tell you something. It is time for us to join together in unity action for one brief moment in history, left, right, and center, and make the world a better place. Build a better sustainable future. I deserve it. You deserve it. Your neighbors deserve it. Homeless people deserve it. We need to end poverty and homelessness now. We can. Tiny homes is a big part of the solution. Transitional homes, offering up a room in an Airbnb, it could be another part of it, or somebody's home. The solutions are there. We just need to be creative and be focused. So I say truth and reconciliation, end homelessness and poverty, end and reverse climate catastrophe, and lastly, hold our political and corporate leaders accountable to a higher standard. It's time for the great reversal and a one-time correction with reparations for we the people, because we all deserve our fair share. The 99% campaign for a better sustainable future is something that technology enables us to do. And it literally reminds us, don't use this and this. And click of a mouse. I'm DrWayPo, restless researcher, catalyst architect, and I approve this message from St. John, New Brunswick, heading off to Digby tomorrow. Peace.